Welcome to Audacity Works, a podcast inspired by and dedicated to the working artist, the creative entrepreneur, and generally, doing the damn thing. This exists on the premise that the world belongs to those who have the audacity to believe that their lives have value. This is for you. Welcome to Audacity Works. I'm your host, Rachel Strickland, and this is episode number 158. And I've brought back my friend, Sasha Galitzki. I had Sasha on the podcast last year, and ahead of the premiere of her film, her documentary film, Wild Aerial. And we talked about that, what it's like to perform aerial hanging from glaciers. Insane, if you ask me, but she's amazing. And I got to see Sasha last year at the Irish Aerial Dance Festival. And of course, while she was there, her hometown of Jasper was devastated by a wildfire while she was out of town. Her partner was also out of town. We'll talk about that in the episode. I don't want to give it all away. Now, Sasha is an aerialist, artist, and filmmaker. Wild Aerial was her first film, but following the aftermath of this devastating tragedy, she made another film, a very different film. It's called Embers. I haven't seen it yet, but I was allowed to see the trailer ahead of time, and even the trailer is incredibly powerful. So please enjoy a conversation with the ever audacious Sasha Galitzki. Sasha, welcome back.
Hi, Rachel. It's great to be here.
It's so nice to see you. I haven't seen you since IDF. Actually, I saw you.
That was a week.
It was a week. It was. But I saw you this past IDF, even though you weren't there, because they showed your film that we talked about last time, Wild Aerial, in its entirety during the cinema night. And that was so amazing to see it on the big screen.
Oh, I'm so glad you got to see it. And thanks. Shout out to Paul. Thanks for having it there.
And you went on after that horrific week. We'll just do a small recap in case people have not been around for the first episode. Sasha is an aerialist and a filmmaker, made a documentary film called Wild Aerial, where she does aerial from glaciers. And this work is art's activism, and she's highlighting the changing landscape due to climate change. And while she was in Ireland at the IDF, not this past year, but the one before that, her hometown of Jasper was caught in a wildfire, and she lost, everyone lost everything while you were at this festival, while you were there.
Yeah.
So. Yeah,
that was a weird week. I mean, it's been weird ever since, to be frank.
Yeah. So how's the living situation? How are we doing? A year and a half
right
later.
Now it's about a year and a half later. Doing better. I'm still processing a lot of things. Unfortunately, so the fire burnt about half of the residential in my town, so there was not enough housing for all of us to return. So my partner and I relocated to a new town about 5 hours away, and we've had to start over, like quite literally start everything over with nothing. Because I was at IDF, my partner was also traveling. We lost everything but the bags we had on our travels. We were not able to grab anything from the house before we left. So I like to joke that we've entered our minimalist era. We don't have much, but we have one another. Everyone made it out safe. Our dog is okay, Raven, and it's really brought home to me like that's what matters. I mean, we all know that, but it's not your things, it's your loved ones. And we're safe, we're okay, we're in a new place. Starting over is hard. It sucks a lot of the time, but we're okay.
Oh. So in the aftermath of this life-changing tragedy, you decided to make another film.
Yeah. I'm still like, was that a great idea or a terrible idea? I
It's a
think it was a
great
good
idea.
idea.
Great idea.
It was, I think I'm happy, I'm proud of it. The making of it was at times challenging. The new film is called Embers. We're premiering, I think when this podcast came out, we premiered last night, although we were recording before that date.
Yes.
So it's about to make its great debut on the world stage, and then it will be going on tour. But the making of it started fairly soon after the fire. I remember when I was in Ireland at IDF, surrounded by all these, incredibly inspiring artists and aerialists in every direction, and I was just literally reeling from the shock of having my life burned down, my life as I knew it burned down overnight, back home. And the next day, I remember a fully formed vision of a small aerial piece just popped into my head, and I was like, okay, well, I'm going to do that as soon as I get back to Jasper. And the fire was still burning. We didn't know when we could go home or when we could
Oh
go
God.
back. Yeah, that was also weird because I was like in Ireland. I'm like, oh my gosh, this like massive life altering thing just happened. Like, I got to get home. And I was like, well, I can't go home. Like, there's no home to return to. I couldn't even go to the town because the wildfire is still raging, through the whole region. So that felt weird. Um, but a month or so later, when they, got the wildfire under control, we were finally able to return. One of the first things I replaced was my aerial rig. Um, I don't think I had a single pair of pants because this happened in July, and most of my clothing was summer clothing. So I didn't have a single pair of pants, but I got a new aerial rig, and a kind friend gifted me a set of aerial silks, which is a great kindness that I really appreciate. And I rigged over the ashes of my home. So I set up the rig on the on our lot, and I performed this little piece that had come to me at IADF, and it felt right. It was surprisingly toxic smelling. Like, we couldn't be there very long because when a house burns down, all of the plastic and crap in your house melts and burns, and it smells real bad, and it gives you a headache immediately. So it was a weird experience because I didn't feel like I could stay very long, which felt hard to kind of be in that space. But I was really happy that I was able to kind of create and perform that piece. And we had a couple friends who were there who'd also lost their home, and they filmed it. And I hadn't thought of making a film about the aftermath of the fire at that time, but I'm really grateful that we got that clip of video, and so it's in the film. It's in Embers.
I saw the trailer about an hour ago because you kindly sent it to me. Your use of embodied metaphor, by the way, fantastic. I don't know if
Thank
you
you.
would call it that. It's just a phrase that I use, but I definitely cried at 10:15 in the morning on a Tuesday.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, not at all. I was grateful to you. Really, really impactful. I had a
Yeah,
question.
same. Okay, we can take our time here.
Do you feel like making this helped you to process?
I do. I feel that the process of filming Embers did help me to process the loss and the grief and everything that had happened. It's a documentary, so it's quite literally just following what I'm doing and like what's happening. And there are moments that are very vulnerable and very honest that I'm happy. Like, I wanted it to be honest, and I wanted it to be true, and I wanted it to be beautiful. And I think Embers accomplishes those things. What I will like the filming of it was helpful in processing, but the editing was really hard. To be clear, I am not a film editor. I did not do the actual editing, but I was responsible for watching through the drafts and giving feedback in the pursuit of that truth and that beauty that I wanted the film to bring to showcase. But watching the drafts of the film as it came together, all that happened this past summer. So it was about a year after the fire, and I had kind of I feel like a year after the fire was starting to kind of feel like I had my head above water a little bit, and I was starting to kind of feel like I had a grasp on, my new life a little bit or the starts of it. And then to be pulled back into those times of real darkness was at times really hard. And so the the crew for the film was very gentle and kind and understanding with me when I said there were times I was like, I can't do this today. I know we're on a tight deadline, and I know you need my feedback, but I cannot do that today, and I'll try again tomorrow. Um, yeah, it was good, but it was also hard.
It sounds very hard, and a worthwhile challenge to pursue. A lot of people want to make art about hard things that have happened in their lives, and you have done that. Do you have any advice for people who want to make art, even as a way of processing hard things, but not just as a way of processing it? Anyway, do you have any thoughts to share?
I have so many thoughts. Just gotta like organize them. First of all, make the freaking art. If you have feels and you feel compelled to in any way showcase or process them through art, you should do that. Even if it's just for you, even if no one ever sees it, it is still worthwhile and it is still helpful. If it is helpful to you, it is worthwhile, period. If you want to showcase it to others, I think the thing that I learned is to lean all the way in, despite how scary that might be.
Mm.
There was one performance. So in Embers, there are four performances, two in landscapes of fire and two in landscapes of ice. The fire ones were, well, no, they were all emotional. The fire ones come earlier in the film, kind of more directly after the wildfire, and in a lot of ways they are more emotional. And the first one is kind of opens up the film. And when I got the first draft of that performance, I was super uncomfortable. I was watching it through. It's like, oh, I don't like that shot. I don't like that one. Nope. And I kind of wrote quite a lot of notes back, and I was tactful about it. I was like, I really don't like this shot, and I was looking through the footage. I was like, maybe we could try this one instead, and this one instead, and I sent it off to the team, and the director got back to me, and she was like, you know what, like, can you just tell me a little bit more about like why you don't like certain shots? And I was like, oh, I just I don't like this about this and this about this. And she was like, what I noticed was all the shots you don't like show your face. And I was like, yeah. And I was like, oh, yeah. And like, you can see on my face that I'm feeling some feels, and I'm tearing up thinking about it a little bit. um, and she said, I get that those are hard shots to watch and to for you, but like, we're here to tell a vulnerable story, and those are the moments that really ring true to me as a watcher, and I think they're the most powerful ones that an audience will resonate with as well. And it's up to you, but I think you should keep them in. And I sat with that and it's like, I know she's right, and I appreciated I appreciated that call out, because like my own my own reaction was like, these are too much. I don't think I want these out there. And I really appreciate that she called it out, and like, obviously it was still my choice, but she gave me the space to think about why I didn't like them and whether maybe it was something that I could be comfortable with in the interest of telling a story more truly. And they're in there.
I'm relieved that they are.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was the right call. I feel good about it.
I've had those moments too, and in documentation. We're like, oh, that's way too much. And then someone else will be like, that's the best part. That's literally the most important
Yeah.
part.
Yeah. Lead in.
Lean in.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's good. Did you know that you were going to become an artist activist?
No, I had no idea. I'm still like, wait, am I? Is that me? Uh, I feel like I've just been like pulling this thread because I'm like, oh, well, that's interesting, and like, oh, I kind of want to do that, and then all of a sudden I've landed in this place where I'm like, huh, I didn't know this is where I was going. But it feels like the right place to be because I followed the right thread, on my way here, and it feels, yeah, it's so interesting because like little known fact about me in the public sphere. I have this whole day job life that I don't usually post about on social media because it's terribly boring. Um, even so, in my day job, I'm a finance executive, which I don't say out loud very often because and immediately people just glaze over and they're like, I don't want to hear anything about this. But so I grew up like I'm a super numbers person. I'm a total Excel geek. I got, like economics and like all that's my jam. And so I've always identified as like a numbers person and like I can't remember which side of the brain it is, but like it's the opposite to the artist.
Mm-hmm.
And so for many years growing up, I was like, oh, I'm not an artsy type of person. I'm like a numbers, math kind of person. And then of course I realized that you can be all the things. You don't have like you have the two sides. We all have two sides of your brain, right? And so I finally figured out like, oh, maybe I'm also an artist, and that's fine. That's great. Let's see where that goes. And the older I've gotten, the more I've really been just pulling the thread on being an artist and leaning into that. And you've actually really helped me to do that through the Audacity
Oh,
Project and through your
yay.
mentorship, with kind of not just discovering my artist self, but also really exploring what that can be and what that looks like for me. And here we are. So it's interesting. Like I'm now actually stepping back from some of the things in my finance executive world so that I have more time to be an artist and to use my artist for a purpose that feels aligned for me, which is leaning into environmental advocacy, using my art to draw attention to things that I think are really important and that matter. And that increasingly feels like where I should be spending my time and my effort.
I'm so happy about that. So when this airs, it will have premiered the day before, on
Correct.
November the 9th or 4th,
Uh,
on the 4th.
the fourth, yes, November 4th.
Yeah. So what is the festival that is premiering it?
Embers is premiering at the Banff Mountain Film Festival in early November, and it's kind of like the premier mountain film festival. I'm obviously a mountain girl, and so my both of my films have been very much rooted in mountain culture, though they are also, they've got aerial artistry in there as well. There are a lot of things, but Banff is it's a good place for us to start our film tour, in part because it's in Banff, which is kind of neighbors Jasper in the Canadian Rockies. And it's a community that has a lot in common with Jasper, that knows Jasper really well, and that was, I think, really woken up by the Jasper wildfire happening, next door,
Mm.
and knowing that um, that type of event, Banff is at just as much risk for that. So it's, I think, Embers premiering there and talking about wildfire and talking about the changes to the mountains is really going to ring home to the Banff audience, and I'm excited to see what they think about it.
And that also means that the public can screen the film this coming weekend.
Correct. Yeah, it'll be available to stream online through the Banff Online Film Festival from, I believe, November 12th through 23rd. It is the US and Canada only. If you are not in the US and Canada and want to see it as well, please slide into my DMs and or check our website. I try to get updates out as much as possible on where and when it's available. But you can always message me directly to figure out the latest.
Okay, good to know. And where would you prefer people to message you? On the Grammygrams?
On the Grammygrams,
Okay.
or through website, it's fine too.
Okay. So you didn't have anywhere to train. I mean, the first thing
No,
you replaced was your rig, prior even to pants. So,
right. Rig before pants, guys.
yeah, priorities. I love it. And then you had all this, you had this work to make, and I understand the urgency that comes with when the muse makes a demand like that. And we're like, oh, well, I better get started or I won't be able to sleep. So how did you manage to rehearse with no resources?
I did. I did not
You did not.
rehearse.
Mm-hmm.
I did not. I had the rig, but I mean, I was homeless. Like, I did not have a place to live.
Mm-hmm.
So I was bouncing between friends and family. We lived in a hotel for a while, so I didn't have anywhere to put the rig up to rehearse. So the performances in the film in Embers, I did these 4 performances in like like 9 months after the fire. Those are the only that's the only time I was in the air after my house burned down. There was no training, no rehearsal for any of them. I was out there and I was like, well, I'm just gonna wing it and see, just trust in my body memory. And luckily, I've been doing aerial long enough that I've got some pretty good stores of, body memory. Um, but the performances as a result are not nearly as refined as I normally would like them to be. The performances in Wild Aerial, I would rehearse those for months and I would practice my choreography down to the pinky finger, because I knew that if I'm performing in environments that are well below freezing, I have a very limited amount of time in the air. And I was like, okay, if I want this to look like how I want it to look, I need to put in that time, so that when I'm up in the air, I can focus on my safety and not on like, oh, is it my left knee or my right knee? So the performances in Wild Aerial, very refined, very practiced. In Embers was the complete opposite. I was going up and trying to remember what knee I had to hook, and sometimes getting it right, and sometimes just having to figure it out. And it's not as clean, uh, my performances in Embers, but I think that is part of the story
It's fitting.
and the point. Yeah, and I knew at the time that the point was not the movement, the point was the emotion, and I could feel without rehearsal. And that is what was more important to come across, in those performances. So there's a recovering perfectionist to me looks at those performances like, like I wish I could have been more practiced. But I can accept that they are the right performances for this film.
Mm-hmm. You have to use what you have.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what we had at the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And all I had was some unpracticed body parts waving around in the air,
Hey,
hoping for the best.
what a smorgasbord. Look at all these body parts. Let's use
I
them.
know. What do I do with these feet? That was great. Super fun.
Oh, you had mentioned that because of this whole experience, some gremlins that you thought you had banished reemerged.
Oh
Can you
yeah.
tell us about that?
Yeah, I feel like all of them, it's a whole army of them that just came like, like walking back. They're like, hey, here we are. Because I wasn't able to train or rehearse for almost a year after the fire. Um, and not only was I not training and rehearsing, to be clear, I spent about 9 months curled up in a ball on an assortment of couches across Western Canada.
Of course you did.
I was not, yeah, I was not exercising at all. I was not eating well. I was not sleeping well. I was not hydrating well. I was not doing anything well in terms of taking care of myself. I was doing my best, to be clear. Um, but my best was not great because of the magnitude of the shock and the loss. So I was not in great shape, physically or mentally. And I was in like pretty clearly struggling with some depression and some real, dark times through that period. So I think it's easier to fight gremlins when you have like that mental bandwidth to be like, no, 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 I know this is a gremlin and I know that it is not real, or not that it's not real, but it's something that is not accurate to my reality. But when you're feeling down, it's a lot harder to find those defenses. And so I was feeling too weak, and I was feeling, yeah, just I felt like I lost all my strength. I felt like I lost all my flexibility and my spin tolerance, from an aerial perspective. But I also was like, I just don't have any muscles, and I'm like maybe I'm just too old for this, and I don't know if I can ever work hard enough to get all of this back, and is it worth it? And it just feels so hard, and maybe I'm done. Maybe I'm just done performing, and maybe I don't do this anymore. And that felt bad too. So it's just like, layers of bad on bad, and that can be a tough cycle when you're going through a hard time. So I the one thing I will give myself some credit for is I had the grace to just be on the couch and just be like, this is where I need to be right now. Like I am in a healing phase. It is hard, it sucks pretty much all the time. But this is what my job is right now. My job is to survive, and my job is to heal, and all the rest of it I will figure out later. This is not a now problem, it's a later problem. And so once I had training space again, and once I was starting to kind of come out of that dark period and feeling a little bit better, I was finally able to be like, okay, like now let's look at it. Like, have I lost all my strength? No, actually, I still have muscles. Like they're maybe, like I've lost some, but this is recoverable. Um, Spin tolerance was the one that's still hasn't come back. I think this summer, so about a year post wildfire, I'd been training for a few months, and I started to really try to get back into hoop, which is my first aerial love. Most people know me for silks, but it's really, I started on hoop, and had really been missing it. And I immediately was like, whoa, like I have zero spin tolerance, and I was working at it. I know how to build your spin tolerance, and I was doing everything right to rebuild it, and nothing was happening. I was so sick every training period. It was not getting better. And I kind of just had to sit back and be like, you know what? I am feeling a lot better, but this is a pretty clear sign that my nervous system is still pretty deregulated, and I'm not there yet. And I think I need to just put spin tolerance like on the shelf for a little longer, and we'll come back and check it out, maybe once I've, gotten a little bit further along the line. So it's a work in progress.
So the combination of a deregulated nervous system, even though you feel better, you're like, oh, I wonder why I can't spin anymore. That does make sense to me. It cannot be manhandled.
No, it also really, it was like better is a relative term. I was like a lot better than I was, but I wasn't like all the way better. Like I was like, oh no, no, I yeah, I still got a ways to go here. And the spin was kind of like a bit of a canary in the coal mine to be like, yeah, you still got some healing to do here. Like you're not all done.
Love a clear message.
Yeah, thanks, Naja. Appreciate it.
The body will take its time, and there is nothing we can
It'll
do about
it'll
that.
let you know whether you like it or not. Jeez. Oh, the amount of ginger I ate to no avail.
Yeah, I have students who can't eat ginger anymore just because they used it so much for symptom regulation during like getting up a spin tolerance, and they're like, "Oh, now it makes me nauseous." Like, damn, that sucks.
Oh, interesting. I didn't go that far, but I could see that happening. Yeah.
Yeah. So Pavlovian response. So
Yeah.
this was your second film. Did you have a director the first time? Is that a new? You did.
I sure did. Yeah. Wild Ariel actually came to be because of this director. Her name is Trixie. She's amazing. We met on a glacier, obviously, the most bestest meet cute ever. I know, so appropriate. Um, so we met on a glacier. We were out just for a day exploring the ice with a mutual friend, and we met and got to chit chatting, and we really hit it off. And she learned a little bit more about what I do. And she, as she likes to say, she slid into my DMs a short while later to ask if I had ever considered doing what I do on film. And I said, as a matter of fact, I have been thinking about that. I have, for those who don't know my work, like I had been doing aerial acrobatics in natural landscapes, including frozen ones, for a while. And I've primarily been working with photographers. So I had lots of amazing photos. But and like although a good photo can capture movement, it's not the same as live. A live, an aerial is a performance art. It's meant to be experienced live, or you're meant to experience the full motion of it and not just a moment. So I had been thinking about like, okay, I can't really bring live performance to these landscapes. The access and safety is not reasonable for that. But film feels like the happy medium where I could get a film crew in here, I could film what I do, and that's how I could invite people to join me in these spaces. So I had been thinking about it, but I had no experience with film. I had no idea where to start, and I was like, I don't even know. Like in theory, this sounds cool, but like I don't know what to do. And then Trixie reached out. It was just a very serendipitous kind of coming together, and we had some meetings and kind of talked about what that would look like. She's like, "Do you want to be the co-producer?" And I was like, "Sure." I don't know what that is, but sure. And it turns out it's a huge amount of work. Lesson learned. Um, but yeah, so for Wild Ariel, we were co-producers. She was the director, I was the protagonist, and we made a film. And to be clear, it wasn't just the two of us. We also had cinematographers and an amazing editor. We brought in a composer. That was very important to me to have the somebody score the performances and the whole thing. And so we had a whole amazing crew of people to bring this film to life because it is a lot of work to make a film, as I learned. And then for Embers, same thing. Trixie, the director, we continued as a team on Embers. A lot of our team came from Wild Ariel with some changes. And Embers is actually even bigger and bolder, so we had even more people. And now apparently I'm a filmmaker.
Yeah.
Which yeah, we were applying for a grant somewhere along the way for fundraising, and Trixie's like, yeah, they want to see resumes from both of us as like the two leads, and I was like, sure, sure, yeah. I made a resume and I sent it over to her, and she's like, would you consider maybe like putting filmmaker on this since we're applying for a filmmaker grant? And I was like, oh, me? I mean, okay, like I guess yeah, I could put that on my resume. Um,
This thing I spent a year and a half doing.
and I'm now doing again. Yeah, so I am, thanks to Trixie, acknowledging that perhaps I am now a filmmaker.
I think so.
But yeah, I guess. But yeah, filmmaking is a ton of work. I had no idea. Being a co-producer, yeah, think twice if somebody asks me to be a producer.
What does it
It's great. No,
entail?
it's. I feel like a producer is like in my world, in my day job world, I would call it like a project manager. Like you're all the logistics and like getting all the things organized and making sure everything happens like on time and on budget and on vision. It's like getting all the pieces together. And even for a short film, like Wild Ariel is 16 minutes, Embers is 24 minutes. I was like, these are not long films, and they still took so much work. So yeah, I have a huge respect for filmmakers of all stripes and sizes at this point because like making a film, even a short one, is so much more work than I had ever appreciated, and now I appreciate.
I appreciate. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So you said you added some people to the team for Embers. What positions did you add?
Um, we had, let's see here, a little bit more cinematography help. It was just a bigger project in terms of the actual filming. We did multiple trips back to Jasper. All of the performances are in Jasper. So there's multiple trips back. And again, like that's now 5 hours away for me. It's not, I don't live there right now. So that's a big old trip. And then we also brought in a lot of experts. So the film effectively, it follows me in the year after the fire, like I said, but it also follows my journey as I grapple with the changes to the mountain environments that I love and reach out to experts to better understand those changes. So I talk to wildfire scientists, I talk to glaciologists, I talk to some incredible knowledge holders about what's happening and talk about climate change and climate action. And so bringing in a full team of these experts and getting all of that filmed was a whole nother piece that we had to kind of produce and film and then bring into the final film. And then we had an excellent team. We had a composer again, that's the same one from Wild Aerial. He's amazing, Julian. So he scored the entire film. The music, I mean, again, like I know there's a lot of aerialists or artists and musicians who listen to this podcast, and I think we can all appreciate the power of music. And I am so impressed with his work and so grateful that we were able to have him on. And we also had a colorist because when you're I know. So yeah, this is something I didn't know. So when you're filming with all these different cameras and all these different settings, and you're in glaciers and you're in burnt forest and you're in different houses with different lighting, if you put all of that footage together, it looks like a lot of it looks really different. Like some of it's more yellow and some of it's brighter and some of it's just like it looks really disjointed. And so a colorist comes through and kind of like evens out the coloring across all of the footage so that it looks seamless. So it's not jarring every time the camera angle changes or you switch to a new shot. You would notice if that work was not done. But if it's done well, it's one of those things you don't really notice because it is so smooth. So anyway, shout out to So Young for the amazing color work. Yeah, we had an incredible team. I'm so grateful to them all.
And I've made a film, but it was like me and two other people in the room.
Which is also an option. I've chosen the advanced option, and I'm not. I have a lot of respect for the simple option too. Simple is great.
I'm like, oh my god, that sounds like so much more.
It is a lot of work.
Yeah. But so cool to be able to collaborate with more people.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's cool because we're all artists, right? Like we all have very different forms of creation, but it's really cool to work with such an incredible team of creatives on pulling something together. It's a very collaborative process. It's very much a team. And yeah, I've always really enjoyed that. Like I really like the process of collaborating with others throughout my work. And so filmmaking is kind of like a grand culmination of that. Like if you like collaboration, lean into filmmaking because there is a lot of it. And it's great. You can make magic.
Yeah, we don't really know anything unless there's a movie about it in our culture because it's a great way to receive information and then do research afterwards. So I was about to say fair fucks to you. I guess I could say that. It is my podcast. Fair fucks to you, Sasha.
Oh, thanks,
it's
Rachel.
A very powerful medium to use.
Thank you. Fair fucks to you.
Oh, thank you.
Right back at you.
So the last time I looked at the Wild Aerial page, it was like covered in laurels.
Yes. So many laurels.
You found so many places to submit it. How do you decide where you're going to... I assume it's all through Film Freeway. Is that naive to assume?
Yeah. So Film Freeway is this online platform where very conveniently, pretty much most of the world's film festivals have agreed to just be on this site. You make a profile if you made a film, and you can just kind of like submit with one button to whatever festivals you want. There's usually a fee, of course, but it makes it very simple to submit once you have decided where to submit, which you're right is absolutely the hard part. We kind of early on were like, what are the primary categories for wild aerial. One big one for us was mountain culture, and there are a lot of mountain film festivals. So that was an easy one. We're like, okay, look up all of the mountain film festivals. And then we tried with some like art and dance and circus. We tried with some environmental, and those categories we weren't always as successful. But we found that the mountain films, especially, that tended to be the niche where it worked best. And frankly, I'm going to toot my own horn here for a minute. A
Yay.
lot of the festivals, a lot of the laurels we got were because someone would watch our film at one festival and then they would tell somebody at another festival, or maybe they worked for that festival or they had a friend, be like, hey, I saw this film Wild Aerial. I think it's really great. I think you should screen it at your festival too. And so we had a lot of festivals reach out to us saying like, hey, I heard about your film. Could you please apply? Here's a free waiver code. And we would say, why, yes, we love free waiver codes. We would be happy to submit to your film festival. Um, so that was great. Like we were very successful with kind of word of mouth, and we got some really good momentum going. And frankly, it's still going. We actually just got into a very prestigious film festival in Spain. It'll be screening in December in Bilbao, the Mendi Film Festival. Um, so I kind of figured like, oh, like once you've done a year, you've hit all the festivals in 365 days, then your tour run is done and you move on. But it's actually still going. It's got a bit of a tail to Wild Aerial, and yeah, we hope that Embers will be similarly successful. It is a very, very different film. I kind of wonder. I think Wild Arrow was a really nice, beautiful little piece that film festivals. It was easy to slot in because it was fairly short and it was pretty. It is pretty.
Yeah.
Whereas Embers has, it's got some heavier stuff going on in there, and it is much more of an environmental film, and it has much more of an opinion, and it's a bit longer. And I'm not sure. I don't know. I think we're going to do much better with the environmental films, but we may not. I don't know if we're going to get as many laurels or not. We'll see. We're just at the beginning.
Oh, that's exciting. So this has a sharper edge, in other words.
That is a great way to put it.
Hmm.
Yes, it does.
I'm very excited to see that.
Yeah, I'm excited for you to see it too.
Yeah, I want
I
to
hope
wait
that it will
until
make you feel things.
Oh, it will. The trailer made me cry. So
Fantastic.
that won't be hard. Plus I know you.
That's what I'm here for. Yeah. It's harder when it's someone you know, for
sure. Oh God.
Mm-hmm.
There's actually quite a few aspiring filmmakers that listen to this podcast. People who want to make experimental aerial films or experimental dance films, just because they don't even know why. They're just like, I just want to make this fucking thing. I'm like, yeah, that's a good enough reason. You should do that.
Absolutely.
Do you have, what advice would you give to them?
I think you can start by deciding how big of a production you want this to be. If you want to go big, please give me a call and I can talk through the more details of that. I would suggest starting smaller, unlike I did. And find someone with a video camera. Maybe you have one. Your phone is actually a really good video camera as well. And you can play around with it. I think starting small and learning along the way, like making mistakes, like is the best way to learn almost anything. If you can find one other person to bring in, someone that has some experience with a video camera, that has some experience like editing especially, can be really helpful. I find that, at least speaking for myself, I am pretty good at being like, I know what I want to see, but actually like the software and like piecing together the pieces of footage is something that like my brain, that is not my skill set. For the fledgling filmmakers out there, I think the best place to start is to find people who know more about filmmaking than you do, ideally locally, but not necessarily, and slide in their DMs, shoot them an email, be like, hey, I love your work. I'd love to buy you a coffee and maybe we could chat about things. here's what I do. I think it's pretty great. Maybe you'll think it's great too. And then, like I think filmmaking, it takes a lot of time, and you want to build up a relationship before you jump into that with someone. And starting that off with a coffee, with a message, building that relationship so that you can learn and perhaps collaborate with someone, I think is a great place to start.
I could not agree more. I'm so proud.
I know. I was like, wait, I just did the Audacity project about this. I was pretty much just like, say what you say, parroting Rachel's advice back to her on your own podcast.
Well, it's not like I'm the first one that stumbled on it. It just seems to work, if it works,
Yeah.
then it works. Talking to people.
I love
works.
sliding into people's DMs. I know. I do it all the time. Like, hey, I love your work. This may not go anywhere, but if it did, that'd be super cool.
Right.
Sometimes it works.
Sometimes it works.
Yeah, it's great.
Frequently it works. And I couldn't agree more about finding people who, who do have expertise that you don't have. I did edit Midas first. I edited it myself and it clocked in at like 13 minutes and it wasn't good. Then I sent it to someone who knew better and it came back at 10 minutes and it was fucking great. I'm like, oh, yeah, you're better at this.
I feel like the sign of a good editor is generally that they can make things shorter. That is the hard work of editing, is making things tighter. Long is easy, short is hard.
I had not left anything on the cutting room floor when I tried it myself.
Right.
Like, okay, yeah, that's...
Well, it's hard when it's your baby too, right? Yes. Like you're in it. And you're like, but I like that. Or I like what my foot does there or whatever, like it's harder to kill your own darlings. It's kind of easy when somebody else can be like, I'm going to just do this and give it back to you. And then you probably don't even notice some of the things that were cut because you're like, oh, this looks pretty good.
Yeah. Kind of like why writers always have editors that are not them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like most of us generally would benefit from just having another knowledgeable set of eyes on things.
Yes, agreed.
It's helpful. You can say no to their feedback, but just having feedback is helpful.
Yes, and especially if it's someone, well, only if it's someone you like and trust.
Yes, correct.
So this weekend, y'all, by the time this comes out anyway, you'll be able to stream Embers. And I just have to give like a little shout out to Fallon, who I know listens to this podcast every week. I told Sasha about Fallon because when Sasha wrote to me, she's like, I have this new film. It's called Embers. I have a friend and student named Fallon who also lost her home in a wildfire, the Marshall Fire, and made a show about it called Embers, Petals and Stars. It was just like such a synchronous
when you
moment.
sent me that, I literally got shivers. I was like, oh my goodness. So yeah, Fallon, I see you, I hear you. I would love to see your show. I don't know if that's possible, but I'm glad you made it.
I'm not even going to tell her that we said this. I'm going to let it be a surprise.
Okay. I love it.
All things will be in the show notes. Would you be able, you can send me those links for the Banff Film Festival? Okay. All right.
Absolutely.
My friends. Sasha, thank you so much for being here and coming back and chatting with me. I always love to see you.
It's a pleasure. Anytime.
Thank you so much for listening, my friends. I just wanted to close out this podcast with a few actionable items. Happy November, by the way. When the fuck did that happen? It's November. Okay. I hope your spooky season was satisfactorily spooky. I consider that it lasts for the rest of the year because this is the time in which I like watching horror movies. So we're just going to keep doing that. But particularly because Sasha's work is environmental activism, just a reminder that a couple of things that you can do to help your impact be positive are to shop local as much as possible and the reduction of food waste. But I also want to go in another direction with this, particularly if you are American. All of our rights are under attack. Reproductive freedom, the possibility of forced births becoming a regular occurrence, and even unthinkably, the right to marriage equality coming back in front of the Supreme Court on November 7th, as well as the government still being shut down, and most people, I haven't confirmed this yet with my friends who are on SNAP, that's food stamps, if you don't know what that program is called, but no one's gotten their benefits for the month of November. So supporting your local food bank, call your representatives. I know it feels like a waste of time that no one's listening to you, but please do it anyway. I do have it on good authority that it makes a difference, and we can't go down quietly, and I don't want to go down at all. And I don't want to freak everyone out at the end of a lovely conversation, but these are things that are actually happening. And we can't do all the things all the time to try to prevent this. So firstly, take care of yourselves. And when you can, take care of each other. And if you're not American and you see an American, give them a hug, because we probably need it. I want to thank you for spending this hour with, well, it's almost an hour, but thank you. Thank you for listening and tuning in for this second conversation with me and Sasha. And I hope that if you are an aspiring filmmaker, that it gave you some ideas and that you wrote some things down. And if you have requests for future podcast episodes, you can reach me always on Instagram at Rachel Strickland Creative or on Patreon at Rachel Strickland Creative. This podcast, and indeed my entire survival, is powered by Patreon. So thank you so much to every single one of you who stand with me, who trust me. Thank you for your trust. Thank you for your presence. I could not do this without you. Until next time, my friends, make the freaking art and don't go back to sleep.